Hello and welcome to Jill Cameron Creations. Today we are making a card that has a rainbow wreath on it. Absolutely cute. I love it. Okay, so I use Distress Oxide Inks for their pigment quality. The stamp set that I'm using is from Pinkfresh and it's called Delicate Wreath. I'm going to link to all the products below as usual. To add ink to my stamp, I use sponge daubers. That way I had control over where the ink was placed on the stamp and I could put everything in about equal amounts. I wasn't really concerned with it being super accurately, pie around the whole thing, if that makes sense. I just wanted to have the ink colors distributed around kind of even. So I used the ink daubers to do that. And after I got to the green, I realized that if I wanted to have them equally around there, I would needed to add another color. So I added peacock feathers to this. The colors of the Distress Oxide inks that I am using is Candy Apple, Carved Pumpkin, Squeezed Lemonade, Mowed Lawn, Peacock Feather, Salty Ocean, and Wilted Violet. Say that 5 times fast, why don't you? I am in Central Virginia, as most of y'all know, and we are still in that shelter in place order until the 15th of May, and it is what it is. Making this card right here, I wanted something very simple, very clean, and I am going to actually die cut the sentiment for this is going to be hugs, big hugs, as a matter of fact. The sentiment big is this teeny tiny little stamp that's included with this stamp set, because there's several other sentiments included on that stamp set, but the word big is on there and it's in script, and I went ahead and I wanted to use that, but I also wanted to use a bold sentiment across this, so I pulled out my Pink and Main Hugs die cut and I used that. I die cut that out of black, and then I'm going to add a whole lot, and I mean a great big huge pile of scrapbook.com's glitter brush marker, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Now you see me going back here, I'm going to go back to what I'm doing. You see me going back here and I'm going back and forth between some colors, and I am beefing up that color, and I'm just going back and adding more color in those areas. And it was very simple to do because I already had the colors on there. You'll notice that red kind of got the short end of the stick. However, red is very prominent, so I keep red sections kind of small. The other thing that I'm going to do at the end of this to add a whole lot of dimension to this card is I add Nuvo jewel drops. And I have them in everything but teal. So I have like the entire rainbow of them, but I don't have them in teal. But I just use the blue ones over top of the blue in the teal area. Fake it till you make it, baby. It works perfectly well. I was so thrilled with how this turned out. I've had this card in my head for a very long time, and I'm just now getting to do this. To clean this off, I will make a note that I just used water that was in my spray bottle and wiped it off. That's all I did there. Literally, I sprayed it with some water and just wiped it off with my cloth. I am going to die cut my Hugs sentiment out, and I am using a Platinum 6. I'm die cutting off screen there because I'm not picking that big bad boy up and putting it under the camera there every single time because it just causes a mess. So, I don't know if it was my paper, the die, or my cutting mats, which my cutting plates are actually new, and I've used the die 100 times, so I know it's not that. So I'm going to go back and say, oh, hey, I need different black paper. It left little fuzzies on there for some reason, and I grabbed some black cardstock, heavyweight cardstock at my local craft big box store not too long ago, because I was out of black cardstock, and you can't really get, non-essential items right now, even though to me this is very essential to have black cardstock because, oh yeah, I make cards. I craft for a living. So anyway, I'm not that thrilled with how this turned out. as far as how clean this particular die cut was. And I know it's not the die because I've used it 100 times. And I left this part in right here because some days the struggle is real and I could not unhook the Y from the end of the G there. Not the Y, the end of the G. I couldn't unhook it from the cardstock, and I fought with that thing and I was ready to throw it. Oh my goodness. It was one of them days. I did find my Nuvo glue, and so we're just going to, of course, use liquid adhesive to stack our die cuts together. I didn't think about putting a piece of white cardstock, white typing paper under here so you could see this, because y'all have seen me do this a million times. A light coating of liquid adhesive and start with a specific letter and line that up, and then the rest will follow. And this is a pretty thick, heavy duty sentiment, so it's pretty easy to line up. It's not as delicate as some of them are. And just line it up and use your fingers. Don't be afraid to get glue on your fingers, because guess what? You're going to get glue on your fingers if you do this. The other option, instead of liquid adhesive like this, is something like you could do a sticker sheet, like the double-sided adhesive sheets from scrapbook.com, or stick it adhesive. You could do that. I don't like doing that just because I feel like it wastes so much of that adhesive sheet. Even though scrapbook.com has really great prices on it, liquid glue is just a lot less expensive option to do sentiments and this kind of thing with. So I stacked up this sentiment of hugs, and then I'm going to put that on the front of my card. I'm going to use my hug sentiment really quickly though to determine where I'm going to put the big hugs, like the little stamp sentiment. I'm actually stamping the big part on the card, directly down on the card front. And I figured that out, and it's so small that unfortunately you can't really, you have to get down on top of it to see how this is supposed to look. So, and I pulled the stamp over to see how it actually leans, because it is a script font. So the B part is like the loop on the top of the B is bent over. So if I had just placed that down without really paying attention to it, the IG part would have been up in the air. So when you're setting itty bitty tiny little stamps like that, make sure that they're in the right place. I used, if you'll notice here, I put a piece of acetate over it, over my card front, so that I could see where to, if I had this correctly lined up, and make sure it was in the right place and that kind of thing. I literally just put the acetate from the back of the stamp set on there. Stampin' Storage actually makes, they call them stamp sheets, and they're like 6x7, I think, and they're heavy duty acetate. They're like 16, I mean, they're just really heavy duty acetate, and you can use that to like do what I just did for your placement and wipe it off, because it wipes off a whole lot easier than the acetate on the back of your stamp set there does. So I was dancing a little bit. I don't remember what song came on, but I left my dancing in there for you too, because I was dancing machine there for a second. I went ahead and trimmed this panel down because I wanted to put it directly onto a dark gray background. So that was my card. My card base is going to be dark gray. And I'm going to actually show you how I fix card bases sometimes here in just a second as well. Sometimes when you make your card base, either the cardstock isn't square, which is not unusual, or you may have cut it slightly crooked, or you may have folded it slightly crooked. Things like that happen all the time, and it's quite okay. So what do you do to fix that? You have the edges of it peeking out. Well, the easiest thing to do is just trim them down. So I put the folded edge up against the back side, and I know you can't see it, but I put that up against the back side of the rail there. And then I cut all the way around, and I'm just cutting off the very, very sliver edge of that. And the Tim Holtz paper trimmer is perfect for that. It just trims off that itty bitty tiny little edge so that the edges of your card look absolutely fantastic. That's one of those little pro tips that you might not think about, but it does make your cards look a whole lot more cohesive. So I'm going to just adhere this down to the front of my card base here, and then I'm going to adhere hugs, and then I am going to apply a, pardon my term, crap ton of glitter to the front of that sentiment. And I mean a whole big pile of it. Very, very big pile of it. Because it needed it. Because I wanted it. Because it's pretty. It's glitter. Yes, I did jazz hands with that. So glue this down. Just hold it down with your hands. In a couple of videos in the past, I have used a different glue because I couldn't find my Nuvo glue for a while. I was using Elmer's Glue All. And I have to say that for the price of it, I like it. However, it does not dry as quickly as the Nuvo glue does. That's probably my only thing that I really didn't like about it, and that it doesn't have a fine tip on it. So if you are struggling right now because of everything that's going on and you need liquid glue, and I know my local Michael store is open. They're letting 10 people in at a time. My local Michael store has it. Walmart carries it. Elmer's Glue All is a really good option to use for your cards. I don't think it is safe for like scrapbooking, because I don't think it's archival safe. I don't know that for sure, so I would not recommend it for that. But for your cards and things, it dries matte, so it's kind of like if it ekes out under like a jewel or something like that, you don't see it. It dries matte. It's not shiny and doesn't catch your attention. So just keep that in mind, that it's a good option for you. And see, I told you I put a ton of it on there. It's almost blinding in the video. I put so much glitter on there, and it was on purpose. So now I'm going to add some glossy accents to the top of this to make it even shinier, because, you know, why not? It's absolutely gorgeous. And then I'm going to add some additional jewel drops in all those different colors. Now, yes, this is glossy accents. It's just in this random weird bottle that I have. Don't pay attention to it. It doesn't clog as easily, and I'll really like it. It's easy to squeeze too. So anyway, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the bell up there so you can subscribe to it and get reminders for when I am doing videos and stuff. The other thing that I'm doing is on May the 18th, I am launching a membership site. And it will have a success path for beginning card makers, intermediate card makers, and advanced card makers. And then every single month we'll discuss a different topic. And it might be Distress Oxide Inks. I'm thinking of that because that's what I'm looking at right now. But it might be ink blending techniques. It might be interactive cards with a specific die. Interactive cards that don't require dies. And we'll just have 4 different lessons throughout that month. There'll also be a special Facebook group for you to be able to share your works of art in and ask questions in a safe and encouraging environment. And I will send out more information about that on May the 18th. So if you want to know more about it, head over to my website, which I'll link below, and sign up for my newsletter, because everybody's going to get that email on the 18th. And that is going to be for the Card Makers Society. And I really, really like it because I really want to be able to say society in such a manner. So, to recap, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Head over to my blog and subscribe to the newsletter so you can get all those latest updates. And thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm finishing up this card. Y'all have an amazing day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, and be creative.